knock came at 4:30 on a Sunday, just as the light was turning gold against my kitchen wall. It was not a knock, I knew. In the 3 years since Edward died, the knocks at my door had grown few, and I could name each one: the postman's cheerful rap, the meter reader's apologetic tap. This one was different, small and quick, and followed by a second knock lower down, near the letterbox, as though someone very short had wanted a turn. I opened the door to find the whole family from next door standing on my step in the low afternoon sun. The young mother, Priya, with flour still dusting one wrist. Her husband, Sam, holding the baby against his shoulder. And their little girl, Rosie, 6 years old and gap-toothed, who had done the second knock and was very pleased about it. "We're so sorry to just turn up," Priya said, and she laughed, a warm, flustered laugh. "But we're doing our first proper Sunday dinner in the new house, and there's far too much of it." And Rosie said we couldn't possibly eat it all without the lady next door. I looked down. Rosie was holding a dandelion she had picked from the crack in my garden path, holding it out to me the way you offer someone a rose. "For you," she said, "so you'll come." And I, who had eaten my Sunday dinners alone at a small table for 3 years, who had grown so used to my own quiet that I had almost forgotten it was quiet. I heard myself say yes before I had decided anything at all. But all of that can wait until the morning, because right now, none of it needs anything from you. Not the invitation, not the answer, not the golden light on the kitchen wall. Right now, there is only you and the soft weight of your blanket and the slow, gentle rhythm of your own breathing. So let yourself settle a little deeper into the pillow. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Let your jaw soften. Let your hands grow heavy and warm. I'm going to tell you the whole of this story slowly from the beginning. There is nothing for you to do but listen and drift and let the day fall quietly away behind you. Let me begin. My name is Margaret, though the little girl next door has never once called me that. To Rosie, I am simply the lady next door, said all in one breath, as if it were a single grand title, and I have come to like it more than my own name. I am 68 years old. I live in a narrow brick house on a street of narrow brick houses, in a town that is neither large nor small, with a lilac tree by the front gate that Edward planted the year we married. He has been gone 3 winters now. The lilac still blooms every May, whether I tend it or not, which I have always taken as a kind of message from him. Keep going. I am still here in the small ways. For a long time after he died, the house felt too big and too still. It is not a big house, but grief has a way of stretching the rooms, of putting distance between the kettle and the chair, so that even boiling water for one cup of tea felt like a long walk through an empty place. I tell you this not to make you sad. I promise you there is no sadness waiting at the end of this story, only warmth. I tell you so that you understand what it meant that Sunday to be needed at someone's table again. The family had moved in next door in the spring. For weeks before they came, the house had stood empty, with a faded sign in the window and a garden gone to seed. And then one gray morning, a van arrived, and a young couple spilled out of it with boxes and a cot and a great many houseplants, and a little girl who ran straight to the middle of the empty front room and spun in circles with her arms out, laughing at the echo. I watched from behind my nets, the way you do, and I thought, well, I confess I thought, there goes the quiet. I was right, and it turned out to be the best thing that had happened to me in years. Now take a slow breath with me, in through the nose gently, and let it go soft and long, like a sigh at the end of a long day. There is no hurry in this story. We are simply going to follow it, the way you might follow a quiet lane on a warm evening, in no rush at all to reach the end. The friendship began, as the best ones do, over something small. It was a wet Tuesday, not long after they moved in, and I opened my back door to put out the milk bottles and found little Rosie sitting on the low wall between our gardens, in the rain, in her socks, crying very quietly the way children cry when they don't want to be a bother. She had been sent to play in the garden while the baby napped, and she had climbed the wall to look at my lilac tree, and she had got stuck, and she was too proud to call for help, and too small to get down. So I lifted her down, and because it was raining, I brought her into my kitchen and gave her a biscuit and a towel for her hair, and I telephoned her mother so she would not worry. Priya came round in a fluster, apologizing, but I put the kettle on before she could take Rosie away, and somehow the apology turned into a cup of tea, and the cup of tea turned into an hour, and the hour turned into the beginning of everything. That is how it happens, I think, when you are older and quieter, and you have stopped expecting the world to come knocking. It comes anyway. It climbs your wall in its socks and gets stuck and needs lifting down. We talked for a long time that first afternoon, while the rain ran down the window, and Rosie dried her hair and ate a second biscuit she thought I hadn't noticed. Priya told me about the ocean between her and her mother, and the way the baby cried at 3 in the morning, and how she sometimes stood at her own kitchen sink, feeling that she was doing everything wrong. And I told her gently that I had raised no children of my own, and that I had spent 3 years learning that a quiet house is not always a peaceful one. We were honest with each other in the way you can only be honest with a stranger who is about to become a friend. When she left, she hugged me at the door, quite suddenly, and neither of us said anything about it, and both of us knew. After that, Rosie came most afternoons. She would knock her small, quick knock, and I would open the door, and she would announce whatever news the day had brought her. A wobbly tooth, a picture she had painted, a snail she had named. I taught her to bake, the way my own grandmother taught me, letting her crack the eggs even though half the shell went in, letting her stir until her arm grew tired. My kitchen, which had been so silent for so long, began to fill up again with flour and mess, and the particular music of a child talking without pause about nothing at all. And her mother came too. Priya was tired, in the bone-deep way that young mothers are tired, with a baby who did not sleep, and a husband who worked long hours, and no family of her own nearby. Her own mother lived far away, across an ocean. She was, I came to understand, quite as lonely in her crowded house as I was in my empty one. We were two women on either side of a garden wall, both a little lost, and we had simply not known it about each other until Rosie got stuck. Let your eyes close now, if they haven't already. There is nothing more you need to see, just my voice and the quiet and the slow unspooling of the story. So when the knock came that Sunday, and the dandelion was held out to me, and Rosie said, "So you'll come," I understood that I was not being invited out of pity. I was being invited because I had, without noticing, become part of them. I went home first to change into something better, and to find something to bring, because you do not arrive at a table empty-handed, not the way my mother raised me. I had no cake made, but I had a jar of the lilac honey I put up each spring, and I tied a ribbon round it, and I carried it next door in both hands like something precious. Their house was everything mine was not, that evening. Where mine was hushed, theirs was gloriously loud. The radio was on in the kitchen. The baby was banging a wooden spoon against a saucepan with tremendous seriousness. Sam was carving a chicken and losing an argument with Rosie about whether the crispy skin counted as a vegetable. Steam fogged the windows. Something was very slightly burning, and nobody minded. Priya took my jar of honey and held it to the light and said, "Oh, Margaret," in a voice so warm that I had to look away for a moment, at the drawings taped crookedly to the fridge, so that she would not see how much it had moved me, simply to be spoken to like that in a kitchen full of noise. Breathe in now slowly through your nose, and out softer still, letting your whole body grow heavier against the bed. Feel how there is nothing you need to carry into this evening, You are only a guest here, in the warmth, welcome and unhurried. Just the next quiet word, and the next. They sat me at the head of the table. I noticed it, though I said nothing. There was a proper place laid for me, with the good napkin at the head, where the grandmother would sit if there had been a grandmother. And I understood, with a soft ache that was mostly sweetness, that this was what they were offering me. Not just a dinner, a place at the head of the table, kept warm. Dinner was chaos in the best way. The chicken was good, and the potatoes were slightly hard, and Rosie knocked over her water twice, and the baby flung a fistful of peas with the arm of a natural cricketer. Priya kept leaping up to fetch things. Sam told a long and terrible joke that I laughed at anyway. And through it all, I sat at the head of the table in the steam and the noise and the mess, and I felt something in my chest that I had not felt in 3 years begin, very quietly, to thaw. I had forgotten. That was the thing. I had forgotten what it was like to be inside the warmth rather than watching it from behind the nets. To be handed the gravy and asked, "Could you pass this? Could you hold the baby a moment? Do you think it needs more salt?" To be needed in the small, constant way that a family needs the people in it. Not admired from a distance. Not checked on out of duty. Needed here now to hold the baby while the potatoes were drained. So I held the baby. He was warm and heavy and smelled of milk, and he looked up at me with that grave and ancient look babies have, and he took a firm hold of my finger and did not let go. And I sat very still so as not to disturb him, and Priya smiled at me across the chaos of the table. And outside the window, the light went from gold to rose to the soft blue of a summer evening. Let yourself drift now. You don't need to follow every word. Let them wash over you like warm water, like the sound of a kitchen full of people you love, heard from a comfortable chair as you begin to fall asleep. After that Sunday, there were more Sundays. It became the thing we did without ever quite deciding to. Every Sunday at 4:30, the small, quick knock would come, and I would be ready with something to bring, a cake now, since I had time to make one, or a jar of honey, or a posy of sweet peas from the garden. And I would go next door to the loud, bright kitchen and take my place at the head of the table, and the week would be rounded off, made whole, given its gentle full stop. In between the Sundays, the wall between our gardens grew lower, in every way that matters. Sam mended my back gate without being asked, on a Saturday morning, whistling. Priya began leaving a plate of whatever she had cooked on my doorstep when she had made too much, which was often. Rosie planted sunflower seeds along the base of the wall so that, she informed me solemnly, we could wave to each other over the flowers by August. And I found that I had things to give, too, which is a gift in itself, to an old woman who had begun to feel she had run out of uses. I minded the baby on the afternoons Priya was at her wits' end. I taught Rosie her spellings and her times tables at my kitchen table, with a biscuit for every right answer. I was there next door, a lamp always lit, a kettle always warm, the way a grandmother is there. I was, though no one said the word, becoming their family, and they were becoming mine. Now take another slow breath with me here in the warm. In gently, and out, long and soft. You are doing so well at letting go. There is nothing left in this story that will trouble you. It only grows warmer from here, and softer, all the way down into sleep. There was one evening, near the end of the summer, that I want to give you to carry down into sleep. It was late August, and the sunflowers Rosie had planted had come up tall and gold along the wall, just as she had promised, and we did wave to each other over them, which made her laugh every single time as though it were the funniest thing in the world. We had eaten outside that Sunday, at a wobbly table in their little garden in the last of the long light. The baby had fallen asleep in Sam's arms. Rosie had crawled into my lap, heavy and drowsy and smelling of sunshine, and she had put her head against my shoulder and gone quiet at last. And Priya, clearing the plates, had stopped beside my chair and rested her hand on my shoulder for just a moment and said, quite simply, "I don't know what we did before you." That was all. She carried the plates inside, but I sat there in the blue dusk with the sleeping child heavy in my arms and the sunflowers nodding over the wall, and I thought of Edward and his lilac tree and his message in the blossom every May. Keep going. I am still here in the small ways. And I understood that he had been right, that the going on had brought me here to this garden, to this warm weight against my shoulder, to this ordinary miracle of being folded, late in my life, into the middle of a family that had knocked on my door with a dandelion and never really left. Family is not only the people you are born to or the ones you marry. Family is the people who come knocking, the ones who get stuck on your wall in their socks and need lifting down, the ones who keep a place for you at the head of the table and hand you the baby and say, "I don't know what we did before you." I had thought, after Edward, that my share of that was over, that I would live out my quiet years quietly, and that would be that. I was wrong, in the best way a person can be wrong. There was more waiting for me. There is always, I think, more waiting if we can only keep the door unlatched. So let that be the thought you carry down into sleep tonight, that the knock may still come, that the table may still be set, that you may yet be needed and welcomed and loved in ways you cannot now imagine, by people you have not yet met. Let it go now, all of it, the day behind you and whatever it held, Let it dissolve like sugar in warm tea. You have nothing to decide tonight. No door to answer, no table to lay, no place to be, but exactly where you are. There is only the warmth of your bed, and the soft dark, and the slow tide of your own breathing, carrying you gently out. Breathe in slow and easy, and out slower still. Let the next breath be gentler than the last, and the one after gentler still. You are safe. You are warm. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Rest now. Sleep now. I will keep the kettle warm and the light on in the window, and a place set at the head of the table for whenever you need somewhere gentle to go. Good night,